Record. All right. 5 minutes after, but we can start. So Manjula wanted to talk about the specimen cross-mapping table hosting options. And Christina, do we have any uh, cross-mapping table terms we need to review?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So I think those are the two main topics. Do we have any other burning topics we want to get to first?
Just want to thank you for sending the letters of invitation, Ricky.
Oh, you're welcome.
I sent them to the powers that be, and they said thank you.
Yeah, it felt weird to invite you to a call
I
you're
know.
co-chairing, but
And that I've been on for 14 years, but never
I know.
mind.
Yeah. Thanks, Ricky.
No worries. Um, okay, so do we want to start with the hosting options?
Yes, whatever you'd like to do, we're here to do.
Okay. Well, Manjula, you had something you wanted to share maybe, or
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of bring that up. I know Amy and myself kind of briefly chatted about it. Um, so if I understand right, cross-mapping table has been incorporated into uh, SciMedical.
Mhm.
So what I wanted to actually know, and I definitely agree uh, with both Amy and you, Ricky, that we should not have it in two places. There should
Mhm.
be like one source of truth, like, where
Right.
anybody who wants to like get it and incorporate it, there should be like one place. And that one place is where we should go and update it and keep it, maintain it, and all that. What we need to decide, I think, is what that place is going to be. And
Right.
that place has to be like accessible to. So these are the things I think we need to uh, think about is that that place has to be accessible to people, whoever um, thinking of getting the database, incorporating it to uh, whatever the product that they want to incorporate. So whether they can get to the database without any issues, requiring a license and all that. So whether SciMedical can provide that. Uh,
Well, I mean, it might require a license in terms of because it's SNOMED content. So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it
I
needs
mean,
to
Licensed in the
be
US,
cost,
right?
not no cost. It needs to be no cost, right?
Right. And
yeah,
Sun
yeah, yeah.
Medical, they're a vendor, so they have paid products usually for their customers, unless they're going to host it all for free.
Well, that's what we need to discuss with them. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, uh, in from my experience, every terminology product that I have seen, like when it comes to value sets, any other terminology product, I have seen they're like usually hosted in a in an open place. So maybe like the way I see SciMedical as an implementation of the of the cross mapping table than an actual source of truth in that sense, because like that's an implementation for their work, for their content creation that they provide to whoever that uses SciMedical for code mappings. So in the same sense, let's say Epic wants to use the cross mapping table, they can host it in some form that they provide terminal services. If they do, I don't know if Epic
Mhm.
does it, but if they do it, they can host it somewhere that they do it. So that will become another implementation. That's the way, in an enterprise kind of an approach that I see it.
Right.
Uh, and the other challenge that I see that and kind of uh, paying attention, we have been doing this for like how many years, like
Mhm.
14, I think. We will be doing this for another many years to the future. Is that will SciMedical be something that will support this to be free, and all that going
Right.
forward for such a long time. So that's my uh, take on that. So given all that, my personal opinion is that we keep a source of truth that is um, that we have control of, like a simple database that is hosted somewhere that is close to us, that is freely accessible, uh, and then we kind of maintain it, we update it, and we allow a simple mechanism, just like Loink and others do, for people to access it, download it, and incorporate it into whatever the product that they're incorporating it to. So that is what I am thinking of. And in that vein, actually, I have like, yeah, an alternative could be any, and I think thanks, Andrea, I think we previously kind of discussed any other terminology hosting organization, such as an LM or any other organization that kind of freely provides that kind of access to terminology, um, could be something, uh, um, could be a good opportunity to a good place to host it to.
Yeah, I mean, to your points, I think it would be good because I have some concerns about any vendor hosting it, whether it's EHR, LIS, or terminology, just from having a vendor neutral site. And if anything would happen, change of ownership or anything like that, where they would claim ownership of something, it could cause a lot of issues. Um, I'm not saying that people would, but it's a possibility or
Mhm.
risk that you probably want to avoid. And so I don't know if it's an opportunity for CDC to host things like the livid files and such, or I put alternatively NLM since they're maintaining SNMMID. And I see John has some questions too in the chat or comments. Um,
No.
So, uh, so I was so kind of addressing John's comments about, like, whether we allow direct access to database, or they're going to access a flat file or they download and import. So let me quickly show the tool that I created. I have to say I created it using AI. The tool has been created using AI. So where is the share button? I haven't shared. Okay, share. Which screen? Okay, let me share. So hopefully you can see my screen. Okay. If you can, let me know when you can see the screen.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so this is a simple tool that I've created, so you can just see the database. This is directly accessing the database, which is currently hosted in the APHL servers. So before I gain access, I have done the VPN access and all that. So you can just see the database, and you can kind of filter it for anything like rectal crepe, which actually I found that there's a mistake that we have made. That's why I searched for it, because 7 and 4 is the same. Um, it should be,
Well, where's the domain?
the domain is up here. Domain usage.
So both 4 and 7 are for the same domain?
Yeah, so this is this is for the same domain. So once it's done, it's everything same domain. So everything is the same domain. So it's micro, everything is micro.
Okay.
Yeah. I am guessing 7 is not. We
Well,
can come to that later on, but I
yeah,
just
we need to check if
yeah.
there's
Yeah, I just noted that while I was like kind of going through that. But yeah, so but yeah, you can search it up, and then you can go to an add new term that requires a data that requires a password, username and a password. So once you log in, you can add
mhm.
all the details. You can edit anything, and then you can change all this, and you can also add new users for to that. And then the good thing is that I have added here is that you can actually download the SQL. So once you do this, it gives you an SQL schema,
Mhm.
including the data, and you can directly import that into a and it will just recreate the database in an SQL server with the data, because the SQL it has everything that is required to uh, basically create the database with the data. So you don't really have to do anything; just import the SQL statement, and then just run it, and it will just boom create the database with the data. Or you can just download the CSV. It'll download the CSV, and um, don't convert. It'll download it's a CSV file, so you'll have to do a little bit of formatting, and it'll download everything. I think I know you can't see what I'm talking about, because let me share a different screen. Let me share a screen. Okay, now I think you can see the CSV file.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it'll show you a download a CSV file with all the details. This is this
Right. In which
CSV.
case there may be multiple entries for the same flip preferred term because they are different domains
Yes,
in the
Hey,
CSV file.
Mangela,
yeah,
can you check your output validation there? Because when you expanded that SPM4 column, I'm seeing e-notation SNOMED identifiers,
Mm-hmm.
which means that it's not exporting it properly
Yeah.
completely. So I
e,
see
e,
it's
yeah,
correcting it there.
yeah. That's because this should be like
It has to be text
It has to be
in
text.
order.
Yeah.
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 yeah. It has to be
Yeah.
SP number. Yeah, there you go. And then
Right.
the decimal places has to be reduced to sorry, has to be reduced to 0. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
Okay.
because this is CSV, this is not Excel, but
Right, right.
yeah.
One question on this. So this looks really cool. I like what you did with this.
Mhm.
My one question is what's our versioning mechanism for this? Because I like that it's a downloadable with the schema and everything, but
Yeah.
are we planning to version this and release a published version twice a year that contains updates? Because if we just allow people to download it at will, we don't
Yeah.
have any form of versioning control.
I know we need to figure that out for the PLT and PLR codes too, now that FinVATS is going away. So we definitely need to do it for this one too.
Yeah, I
Right.
had a question similar to John, like versioning, but also governance process, because I know Main Julie said updating things, and whether it's just even updating the STEMED codes if there's any changes. How often that's expected to occur, who's going to manage that?
Yeah.
Because having a whole governance process set up, because what we've been doing is fine, but then when you start to have something where you actually have real end users. And then
Mhm.
to like any type of support needed, if there's any issues,
Hmm.
just thinking about a total like release. It doesn't have to be fancy, but just, who's going to be responsible and, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So these is all are really important questions. One, versioning, John, thank you very much for bringing that up. I have not thought about it. I have actually thought about active and deactivated like terms. So there is like this column that kind of allows certain ones to be deactivated if we want to remove them because
Right.
of whatever reason. But definitely, we can add a version column that kind of we can
Yeah.
implement.
So are you working in Microsoft SQL Server?
This is on a Postgres.
Postgres.
Yeah.
Okay. So in Microsoft SQL, you have a history versioning process that you can actually create in Microsoft, and it creates its own HIS table that has an effective start and end date. And then every
Okay.
time you change a record, it writes into that HIS table automatically as a process of the database. I don't know if Postgres has that same functionality, but that would give us our individual row versioning.
Yeah.
It has an automated process, and then we could just decide if we're going to do a published version for the entire data set.
Exactly.
Would
Okay.
probably be our easiest thing to do. Um, as far as to Andrea's point, we should, if you import the SNOMED release package from the US edition twice a year, we should be able to run a simple report and just look for inactive SNOMED concepts and bounce it up against the association ref set and find
Hmm.
out what the replacement SNOMED concept is for it. And then we just can make a review process and say we want to update this from this concept ID to this concept ID after it's reviewed and approved. And that would take care of the SNOMED mapping part of this from an update perspective. And then you could release this on a twice year basis because all the mappings inside of the cross mapping table are to
Hmm.
SNOMED. Is that correct?
Correct.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're only bouncing it up against SNOMED. And if we do that twice a year, once in, say, April and once in October, and make those are two release months, there's no real reason to try and follow up with a release any more than twice a year unless we would increase our release cadence for NLM.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or if there is some weird pandemic that
Right. Yeah.
requires an
Yeah. Yeah.
immediate something, right? So yeah,
Yeah. But
an emergency
somehow,
release, but yeah.
yeah, somehow though, we have to figure out how to put this behind like the UML licensing that
Yeah.
requires the user to accept the SNOMED affiliate license. So
Yeah.
that would be
Hmm.
the only thing.
Yeah.
And that I know NLM won't go for that as far as putting it behind the license, but hosting it on somebody else's servers as a
Yeah.
redirect. So I'm not sure how to get around that.
Um, John, when you were talking about the releases, are you talking about the US editions or the international edition of SNOMED? Because that would be another decision.
Well, is the specimen cross mapping purely a US product?
I, I don't think so because
Well, it shouldn't be, but it is using some US extension concepts. Now, whether or not
Right.
they've been promoted, I don't know.
Well, I guess that becomes a question is if it's got because international is on a monthly update cycle, but the US
Right.
is only on a biannual.
Right.
So, yeah,
I
Yeah. I
think
mean,
these are
I
international.
yeah. I mean,
Sorry.
we
Yeah,
can pull
international.
the international edition in with each monthly release, and if there's an automated report, this is really a slowly changing dimensions because most of
right.
these concepts are pretty static. So
Yeah.
I'm expecting very little churn on this map,
Mhm.
at
From
least in
a
the way it
SNOMED
looks.
update perspective. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, yeah, from a SNOMED update perspective. So,
But one thing when I was looking at it like a year or two ago, compared to terms that I've seen in some healthcare systems, there's still a lot of gaps with the terms that are missing from the table. So it's conceivable even that you could have submissions if you're expanding the scope to include things that people are using in, their clinical reporting that are missing, and then you would need those, codes that that's part of the government's governance process too. But I mean, I agree that it shouldn't be changing that much unless there's any type of editorial where there's changes for whatever reason.
yeah, and it's not that heavy of a lift to bring in each monthly edition of SNOMED as well as the US edition. I do that on my own server. And once the stored procedures are written, it literally is about a 10-minute process
Hmm.
to import those files and run a report.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's one question I wanted to ask, whether we can automate that. It seems like he can. So
Yeah.
In SQL Server or in Microsoft SQL Server, yeah, I have a series of nested stored procedures, and it just goes out to the file system, grabs the entire release package, and imports all the tables and into a staging database, and then I move it in, ETL it into a production database.
yeah, I believe we can kind of mimic the same functionality in Postgres
Mhm.
too. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think the things that we once we figure out all the governance pieces about the licensing, and then is it this interface the way we should be hosting this, or is it through some kind of a mechanism, through an LM or any other entity that may be happy to take it and host it within their um, you know, service or whatever. If that is the process, whatever the process, I think we should go for that. That's my opinion. If we are going for this interface, though, because this is currently running on my machine, I think we have to find. This is not very heavy. It's really light, small app. But we need to find a hosting space that will host this app and open it outside for people to access.
Yeah.
I guess my main concern with putting this app on the open web is we are really going to have to harden the security on the
Yeah.
system down to be able to leave it out on the open web, because SNOMED has been getting hit with denial of service attacks. So my preference, just for ease of maintenance, would be to keep this on somebody's internal server, only accessible to a few of the group, and then just put the published release packages up on the website for people to download, unless we have resources to really address all the security issues to put this on a hardened server.
Yeah. Another kind of a version that I have created is that I kind of extracted this explore version only without this add terms page. So if because like this page, this app allows everything. So if you wanna just give somebody or just host this page that allows somebody to view and download, we can do that too. Just just letting you know the options of hosting when it comes to that. But I agree
Yep.
with you, John, that that's actually something that's of concern.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with, having this hosted wherever, whoever can host it. Obviously we're currently doing it because we're, working. But on it.
Mhm.
I just, yeah, I mean, um, my question is, FinVads is going away, right? So is CDC gonna have a replacement like platform that they're going to, or some other, or is all of this going to NLM or um
Good
somewhere
question.
else? I mean, I would like to have this in a place where, people naturally go to look for stuff like
Mhm.
this. So to me, NLM would be the perfect place because A, it's, you know, it's deals with the whole licensing y-
Right. I see your point, Ricky.
already, and
Um, yeah.
but
I think if we come up with a release cycle versioning and an actual flat file release package, that would be something that NLM would consider hosting for download on their site behind
okay,
the UMLS license. But as far as like a database access like this, they don't have the resources to take that on right now, and I don't
right,
think that they will, because they're not accepting new source abbreviations for UMLS at this point because of resource constraints.
got it.
And that might answer that. I was going to ask maybe like even, because really most of these are pretty much all SNOMED codes, right?
They're
Mhm.
all SNOMED codes.
And so would there be any way to tie into the US national release of SNOMED to either add in additional things like the flip, or other types of things
I mean, this
inside?
was this was the other choice we were talking about, right? To
Like an 80,
publish, to create a SNOMED, to create it as a SNOMED extension. But there's issues with that because we have the, required terms that could, I mean, I guess point to VSAC value sets to pull from, but how do you um
yeah, there's some nuances that are a little different.
how do you identify the domain to filter by? How do so we'd have to really dive into that. I mean, I know a lot of people are building SNOMED CT extensions, so that to me is also a natural place to do this. Um, but and it works great for all the pre-coordinated terms for the fully defined terms, but for the partially defined terms, and also how to indicate the preferred versus discouraged by domain, that those are the two pieces I'm not sure how to do in that
Right, right.
extension.
But I mean, I think too, like the points that me and Jewel and John were bringing up about, who's going to be like authoring and where, because I think you need to have a separate source than where you're, kind of your working version of your database and doing the
Mhm.
updates and working through that. And then, so that would be kind of hosted at one place, but then where is it published or released? So that you have, for business continuity planning, because you don't want to have
I
something
mean, if
out
it's
there.
if it's download packages, that's one thing, right? But if you wanted to provide an API call in real time, that's another thing, right? And so,
Right.
and I'm
Yep.
totally fine with saying we'll go for download packages for now because that's what we can much easier do, I think.
Support, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know some of FinVads, I think, is going to get absorbed into VSAC because most of the public facing FinVad stuff is all value set based. And
Yeah,
I've
but they
been
are
encouraged.
publishing some code systems, and that's the
Right.
ones that I'm
And that I
wondering, where
don't
they
know,
going? Yeah.
but I also know that CDC has brought some medical in-house. So
Mhm.
if some medical's already working on this, can we just transition that work over to be owned by CDC?
Yeah, that's the other
So that would,
consideration. Yeah.
yeah, that's a possibility.
Yeah. Because it shouldn't be hard to migrate it from one medical instance to another if they've
No,
built
I
it.
agree with that. Yeah.
So I have a question. Given that CDC brings things in and then leaves them or gets rid of them, how stable is that?
That's a great question, Nancy, that I have no idea how to answer
It's
other
about
than to,
our pay grade and yeah.
So
I,
if for
Expertise.
instance they don't keep medical, is there somewhere else to put it, or is there a
yeah.
place where it's you know, the moment of truth or the truth um
Yeah, I
site?
mean that's the thing, right? Do we keep this database? CDC could host it, APHL can host it, whoever can host it, right? As the
Mhm.
source of truth, and then have Medical update their version, and that's how it gets published. Is one thing. Now, in that case, we can get rid of the adaptive workflow in Medical because we'll make the updates through imports probably of the published packages. I would assume. Um, I mean, one of the benefits or one of the things to consider going forward, right, is to consider having a adding a fire format to the packages we provide, so that fire terminology servers could host the content, right, and make it
Okay.
available.
So
But
that was kind of my the earlier point, when John asked the question. So if you're expecting a lot of laboratories to use that, they're not going to have the informatics. They're going to need something simple like an Excel or,
right, right,
ESB
right,
might even be too challenging for some in like a critical access hospital that you want to use and access this information. But if you're a terminology vendor, you're an EHR vendor, and you do have a terminology server, or that's how you want to serve it up, that
right.
might be an option within your respective products. That might be an option for those folks that have more advanced informatics training.
Mhm.
But you need to make sure that
Yeah,
you
we
understand the
definitely need
audience
the
of
CSV
users
download. There,
and you
no
don't
question about
block
it.
some out or exclude some
Yeah,
due to
yeah,
technical aspects.
yeah. CSV download is a definite must. No question about it.
So would SNOMED host this or not? Because it's all SNOMED coding.
We could ask SNOMED International too, but it does contain some US edition terms. So then we probably would have to see if we can, as an argument, say any, US extension term that's in this cross-mapping table, can we migrate that to international and then publish it through international?
Because I figure SNOMED is going to stay around for a while.
Yeah.
Um, Andrea says if you support fire, then you can use the terminology IG.
Yeah, so like several of us were working on I think it was the Tinker spec for updating terminologies. John gave a lot of SNOMED um, direction to the Deloitte team leading that. I mean, so
Mhm.
that's something where, you can use some of those standards for some of the
Right.
release updates, so they're, again, for those folks that have that functionality and advanced informatics capabilities, it would make it easier in that regard too.
Yeah.
So we probably have to look to make sure everything that's in the cross map table will be supported from that implementation guide.
Yeah.
Not like a
Well,
single.
it's not currently because I don't think that has domains and preferred and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Ricky, you might not know this, but is this something that it would be validly represented using the fire concept map?
Yeah, so Manjula and I did try to map this into a fire concept map, and we actually um we I want to say we made extensions, but they're not extensions. We used the property feature in the
Okay.
concept map. And I did present it to HL7 TSMG at the September meeting. Um, using the term extensions, and then people went like, those are not extensions, those are properties. And I'm like, okay, sorry.
Okay.
But it's defining the properties to be these specific things. And so that's when we noticed that we currently support value set binding for, we don't support one of these doesn't support value set bindings. And so there
Right.
is a tracker for R6 to track that to where is it? Uh, yeah, so the coding data type isn't currently used for value set attributes. Um, and so there, Mark Duteau submitted a tracker. And so once R6 comes out,
Uh-huh.
then concept map should be able to represent all of these things.
So could we put this, submit this to THO for as a new HL7 code system, and then let it be represented out using the fire concept map from the fire terminology servers?
But it's not really a code system, is it?
That's where I was struggling because we're
Hmm.
we're we're treating it like a code system, but is it?
No,
Um,
what is it? It's a,
Well, I mean, just if we take the SNOMED mapping, the SPM segments off, and just look at the specimen concepts, is that part a code system? The flip preferred terms and
I
stuff.
mean, hmm, I don't know. In theory, I guess it could be.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking this is I know that ONC is working on setting up a fire terminology server, I
Hmm.
believe. So if they're going to be, from a US perspective, this isn't necessarily going to fit the international use case, but if the flip preferred term in that qualifies to be a HL7 code system, and we can get this through either THO or TI, and let them host it on the ONC fire terminology server, then that gets us one step closer to having it as at least a national distributable format.
Hmm.
Unless I could be completely off on that because I'm in theory land here trying to brainstorm where we could put this.
Yeah.
If that's possible, that would be ideal.
Um, I mean, even if we have to request an OID from the HL7 registry, just to formalize it as a whatever code system we want to call the flip preferred term content
Hmm.
part of this,
Hmm.
um, it might Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's pros and cons to this that I'm not even thinking through.
I don't know. I could talk to Carmela about that and see what she thinks, since she is kind of both. She straddles
Mhm.
both, right? She's on TSMG or TI
Yeah.
and ONC, so maybe I'll ask Carmela what she thinks about that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if you could find out if, we could publish packages through NLM,
Yep.
that would be good.
Since it's a SNOMED related one, I could see this as a SNOMED download,
Hmm.
potentially. But I'll run it past Nick and Patrick and Raja and see what their thoughts are about us being able to just host the flat files. The only thing I would steer away from, though, is if we could standardize to either the RF2 or RRF formats as opposed to CSV. For years, I've been trying to get everybody to move either onto the SNOMED standard format, which is a tab delimited text file, as opposed to
Hmm.
comma delimited.
Okay.
And basically RRF, which is the format for the UMLS files, is tab delimited as well.
Okay.
So it makes it easier from the implementation level, because with comma delimited, then you
Yeah.
have to get into the issue of text
Commas.
identifiers
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
all of that
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
which, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Manjula, do you think that's doable? I mean, we could probably, if we can export it as a CSV, we could probably transform it to
Yeah.
a tab
Yeah.
delimited before we pass it
Yeah. Yeah.
out.
Hmm. Yeah. I think I can add that functionality,
Okay.
and yeah, we can do that.
Because I'm sure
Okay.
we've got special characters in there that we would have to offset with some sort of text identifier if we use the CSV.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely. Uh, yeah. The one that is giving, at least right now, a headache is that most of the definitions have new lines. That's the one. Uh, but definitely there must be special characters in the write-up, especially in the definitions.
Yeah, and the definitions there are probably commas somewhere, though we
Yeah.
could, also make sure there aren't any, um, and just replace all the commas with semicolons or something, just so that
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Commas, carriage returns, this, that. Yeah.
carriage returns. Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely have plenty of those.
Oh, yeah.
So what do we do with those?
So at least when I'm like this app kind of sanitizes carriage returns with slash n, but I mean, I don't know how many of like so many could be so many characters, and
Yeah, HL7 uses /br for,
That's text editing.
yeah.
That's what I was about ready to suggest if we want to do text editing.
Yeah. Okay, well,
All those special characters
we'll have
you
to
have to
look
do
into that.
something with.
Yeah. Okay. We'll have to think about that.
Andrea, to your point, unless it's a country that isn't a SNOMED member, then they may have some licensing fees, but any of the member countries would be okay to use it without any charge.
Right. So I'm just thinking like BU Miriu and folks from the IICC mentioned with Livid when we were talking about SNOMED way back when, because when they have such a large global footprint, that was one of the SNOMED licensing was one of the blocking issues for the vendors because they didn't want to have to pay for licensing for those countries where they had their customers. At that time, I don't know if that's changed, but obviously if there's more member countries, so that gets into kind of like versioning, like which ones you're going to use and that sort of thing. But if they focus on, if it's US specific to start, potentially, then you'd have the US and then for their customers in the US, that sort of thing. Or North America, or however you want to. That brings up another question too, because this is in English. So if there are other countries, other
Well,
spellings with those other additions, that might be a factor because we know like Canada Health Info A handles, the French Canadian for their provinces that use French in their EHRs and stuff and LISs. So that's another factor too. When you start to get internationalization, as folks know.
yeah. So to answer your question, I don't think VSAC is quite ready for this complex linking of value sets, but
Oh, no, not even close.
so
Yeah,
so
this is beyond anything that VSAC would be able to handle.
I mean, you
'Cause
could
it's
create the value sets for each of the specimen attributes in VSAC. We could do that, but they
yeah.
wouldn't be linked. I mean, it might still be a good thing to do. I have created those out of prior versions of cross mapping tables for the federal, what is it? The federal Federal Health Information Model or Federated Health Information Model. I forget what the F stands for, but
So are you just meaning to take all the SNOMED concepts that are in, say, SPM7 and make a value set out of that?
yeah, I have done that for them because
Okay.
they were modeling each one of those as attributes in their model, and they wanted some starter set. So I said, yeah, here you go. Here's a starter set for you. So that part we could put in VSAC, but
Yes.
it's probably not complete because in our table we only have all the concepts that are specific for the fully defined terms. So
Right.
So I don't
I
know
mean,
how good that would
it,
be. I mean, we could create them based on SNOMED hierarchies with intentional definitions for each of the attributes, but
well, it depends on how granular you want to go because you could either lump them all into a single value set, or you could create one value set per domain and then use a grouping value set to link them all together for one SPM segment. So does that make sense?
yeah, I think sort of.
So we have the micro domain, we have coag, etc. So you could
Right.
create a value set for each one of those domains for a given SPM segment, and then group all the domains together for SPM as a grouping value set. Sorry, I'm at a coffee shop, so it's a little loud.
That's okay. We can't hear it.
But that would break it down and isolate it. So if somebody only wanted the SPM codes for the coag domain, they could get that value set, but that's a lot of extra initial work.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Um, guess I got lots to think about. We all got lots to think about. So I think let me share my screen again so you guys can see what I'm writing.
So, Ricky, I have a
Yeah.
quick question.
Yeah.
So there are definitions in the cross mapping table and links to websites that we have accessed since we started this process. And I have found that some of the links are dead.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's, yeah.
so what do we what what should be our process of handling those links and any information that was extracted or kind of kind of copied from those links because the resource is not available anymore.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we put those links in because we were trying to document where we got stuff from for references, but
Yeah,
it's, I don't know if we can keep doing that going forward, like as part of the publication process, check links that are going stale. And then does that mean if we can't have the links anymore, then we would, you know, have to get a new definition? Or, I mean, are we okay to just say this is point in time at, and so maybe we need to do it one more time before publication, or we just take the links out. I mean,
maybe
some
we
of the links
take,
are for description of, collection method and stuff. So,
yeah, yeah. I mean, those can be like we can just uh, for for additional information such as like collection methods or anything in the comments or anything. I think we can kind of do something about them because they're like not really. I mean, they're optional kind of fields, but the the definition is a required field, at least the way the database is set up
right.
now. So so I was thinking like, maybe we kind of decide on let's add a simpler definition just to, that defines what the sample is, and then um, not
I mean,
add
I
any
think,
links.
I mean, I don't know that we copied verbatim where we
But I
had
was wondering,
links.
because if we
Yeah,
didn't, we don't really need the link.
yeah, yeah. I know in a lot of times we used the links and then formulated something, but I can't guarantee that we didn't copy something directly.
Mangela, would it be possible to decouple the URLs from the definition and put them into a different database table, but still keep it linked to that record in the main table?
Um, it would be difficult to automate that, had to be done manually because it's right now just one blob. I can try to do it. I don't know how successful it will be. It'll be like mostly probably I have to ask AI to do it, but we can try to do that to kind of separate it out to different column. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about it from a publication perspective. The reference that we base the definition on is important internally, but I don't know how important that is to publish it out for everybody because they have the
Hmm.
definition that we're basing off of.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's a
we
good
got
suggestion.
into a situation with the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics where they had submitted a lot of definition URLs in the definition text to SNOMED International. And we ended up having to go back and inactivating them all because the links all broke.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a good suggestion, John. I will do that. I will kind of try to separate the links, at least from the definition, and put it into a separate column, and
Mhm.
maybe try to update that in the database. It might take a little bit of time, but I will work on that so that we can maybe hide it from any uh, database views.
Okay. All right. So I guess governance process going forward would be good to figure out. And then, John, if you can just get an idea of the possibility of getting the flat files posted by NLM, and I'll reach out to SNOMED International and see if they could maybe host flat files or something
Okay.
for another
Yep.
month. Okay. And with that, we're at time. So have a great rest of your day and weekend and see you next week. Sorry, Christina. Well, didn't get to that. I forget. Are you here next week on Thursday?
Yes, I'll be here.
Okay. All right. We'll do that next week then. Sorry about that.
No worries. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.